This is Uncommonly Remarkable. We have surprisingly casual discussions about the lives and notable accomplishments of community leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday folks like you and me. Think of this podcast as an opportunity to learn something new and to pick up on an entrepreneurial tip or two through open conversation. I'm Artis Beatty. I'm a doctor of optometry and the chief medical officer for My Eye Doctor OD. Though we will inevitably touch on topics within my area of expertise, the opinions and conversations held here are separate from my work with My Eye Doctor. Today's guest is Troy Roberts, President and CEO of APC, a family-founded staffing and consulting firm that's been connecting top-tier talent with high-stakes roles since 1993. From Fortune 500 companies to digital transformation projects, APC finds the right people for the toughest challenges. In this episode, we dig into the evolution of work, how expectations have shifted, how hybrid and remote roles are shaping decisions, and how AI is already changing the hiring game. Troy also shares what it means to run a values-driven Native American-owned business and how family has always been at the heart of it all. Ladies, gentlemen, all you remarkable people, please welcome Troy Roberts to the show. Welcome, Troy. It's so fantastic to have you come and spend some time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to the discussion.
I think it's going to be great because there's so much we want to learn today about APC and a lot about how you look at the world. We're in a changing environment for employers and employees, and with how you staff and think about consulting and those types of things, I think are very pertinent, and people are going to be really interested in learning more about that.
Awesome.
So I guess we start in the beginning. So tell us about APC.
My father founded it in 1993. He had the opportunity to start the business after retiring from IBM. They talked him into taking full retirement, and they said that they would be his first customer. And so that's how APC started. IBM was our first client, and we had the opportunity of, there was a lot of retirees at that time that were taking packages. And what they found is that there was some people that they really needed to come back to either service them or their clients. And so my father had the opportunity of starting the business back in 93. And in 1998, I joined the organization because it was at that time it was growing, and he needed some help. We were working out of the basement of his house.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just, it was a great opportunity for me to get to work with my father and join the growing business.
That's pretty awesome. So that's really interesting to think about. So he was retiring from IBM, which here in the Triangle was a really big deal and a big employer. And before he started helping to provide staffing, was IBM using other ways to staff, or was this a first foray into having a third party help staff for them?
No, there was competitors and there was other companies in there, but I think they saw it as an opportunity to help out their own. And he really understood the business, understood what their clients needed, and so was basically bringing people back to do what they had been doing. And we took that as an opportunity to start the business and really started staffing individuals there. And then obviously it's grown into supporting a number of other clients as well.
Well, and how did you go from looking at a singular company to realizing and thinking, this is bigger than what we're doing today. We have the opportunity to turn this into something that can help a lot of different organizations?
Well, it really started out from working just with IBM. And when we were doing that, we were being introduced to other clients, end clients of IBM, as well as just coming into contact with other business individuals that said, hey, you guys are doing a great job over here. We would love to engage you guys for this type of talent. And at that time, we were really heavily into network management. We're known, some of our professionals were known across the world for their skill sets, and those skill sets were needed a lot of times in the financial services industry. And so it was, hey, you've got this guy who can do this. We need your help. And so it kind of just started going from there.
And today, what types of professionals are you staffing?
So any highly or uniquely skilled type of individuals, typically in the IT field, in the engineering realm, digital marketing, very high level finance type individuals. So anybody in that is in corporate world that might have highly skilled assets.
I got it. And so when you're thinking about then searching for the individuals to place, that's kind of high stakes, right? Because those are normally they're harder to find because they have a specific skill set, but they also can be fairly expensive. So how do you balance that for organizations that are actually looking?
Well, a lot of times, a number of these organizations are engaging some of the large systems integrators, your Accentures, your Deloittes, those type of individuals, and their bill rates are extremely high due to obviously they've just got a lot of infrastructure and they're putting a lot of training and other things into their individuals. And what they found is we have access to those similar type individuals, and they're engaging them for a single type engagement. Typically, most engagements that we have are minimum 6 months to a year plus.
Got it.
And so it's an opportunity to, find the right person with the right skills for a short-term engagement to get them through a need.
I got it. And so let's take a step back for a second then and think about the beginnings of APC. So now we know where it started and kind of how it started. Can you talk a little bit about the company culture and the values? Because I think that's really important when we think about a founder-led
Sure.
organization and the fact that it's also a family business.
Yeah, I think it is very unique that what I've found is a lot of the values of the organization are based upon the family values that I grew up in our family. We're a Native American owned company, and a lot of the values that we held true as individuals, we just brought into the business. And it's really cool because a lot of people come to work for us and they say, you don't understand the culture till you work there.
Yeah.
And it's very people focused. We do what we say we're going to do, and there's a lot of consistency in what we do. Ethics and integrity are paramount to everything that we do, and we're not going to ever sacrifice that, because once you lose somebody's trust, you've lost their business.
Is it somewhat hard though when you're looking for candidates that are not necessarily going to be APC employees, but they're going to go off and work for another organization? There is no doubt there's some sort of, I guess, expectation that the person or the candidate you find matches up with the presentation of the culture and values that you would have gone out to give the client to gain that business. So how do you balance that?
Partially there is, we look for people who are servant type leadership that are really wanting to get into the client to understand their needs, take ownership of those needs. And frankly, if they have all the skills to do the job, but they're not going to take that ownership, they're probably not a good fit for our organization. And even during the orientation, we talk a lot about professionals serving professionals, and that's our corporate motto. And it's just an expectation of taking ownership of problems and taking care of the client.
Well, that makes sense to me, and I think it's one of those things that it's very difficult to execute, right? I think it's an expectation that a lot of organizations have around the people that represent them, but it can get very difficult to execute that unless you are really building it in from the very start.
It starts from the recruiters that are reaching out and talking to the professionals, getting a good sense of their background, and not only that, but who they are as an individual and whether or not that is going to be a good fit for the client and frankly, a fit for our APC as well. Are they going to represent us well? And, just as much as they're trying to take care of the client, we have an expectation of them looking out for APC, looking for opportunities and ways to make us look good.
And you mentioned something, it was a little subtle, but I think it's important from the way you think about engagements. So you're looking more specifically at short-term engagements, and that length of time is 6 months?
That is the shortest engagement that we will take on.
I see. Okay.
Now, obviously, it's in our interest, and we try to take individuals from one project to the next and re-engage them and retain them, especially if they're, doing a fantastic job. it's in everybody's interest to re-engage them. And a lot of times we'll if somebody's rolling off a project, we'll proactively submit them to other clients that are going through similar type projects and might have those needs.
That is really interesting because I don't think I've ever thought about it like that, in that there are individuals who are serial project people. And so
Absolutely.
they prefer to move from project to project with different organizations, or maybe a new project within the same organization, but they're not looking necessarily to be permanently hired in one place or another.
A lot of times it gives them a little bit of flexibility. It gives them exposure to different client problems, and it makes them a stronger consultant. And so there are people that have been offered full-time opportunities with the project teams that they're engaged with, and they not often, but there are times when they turn it down because they would prefer to stay as a contract professional, going from client to client.
That's remarkable, because in my world, it doesn't work quite that way.
Right.
There's a lot of we have the skill sets and the licensed individuals that are highly skilled that we deal with, but because of lots of things around the way we credential for insurance purposes, how providers tend to move
Right.
around and become more permanent, they build a practice. We don't see that a bunch, and so it's really interesting to think about being able to have people be on a temporary basis who really come in and do those types of things. I'm thinking at the office level, wholly different when you think about what we do
Right.
at the home office level, of course.
Sure.
So as you think about the evolution of the workforce, so go way back in your time machine to '98 and think about those clients and the folks that you found to fill their needs, and then think about what you're working on today. How have you seen the workforce change over the
Sure.
course of that time?
I think the biggest change that I've seen is they used to just hire for, if you had a specific skill set that they were looking for. Let's just say it's a certain technology,
Okay.
Java. They would hire that individual and then teach them the rest of the job. And what we're finding now is clients have gotten used to, or I guess it's just more demanding for the exact right individual. And what I mean by that is you might have somebody who has worked at an organization for the last 20, 25 years, they're retiring. And a lot of clients come to you and think, oh, I just need a replacement for, John. Well, guess what?
Oh,
John's earned that experience through 25 years of experience. And it is so difficult because they want to replace that one individual with a singular person. And it's so hard to meet the expectations sometimes because some of the skill sets aren't in alignment with what they might have accumulated over that period of time. So that's probably the biggest, challenge over the last 15 years is just clients being a whole lot more specific with not just one skill set, but 5 skill sets.
Yeah.
And, to find that unique individual it makes our job even harder.
And how do you set that expectation with clients? Like, are you helping them level set or reset the way they're thinking about things?
Yeah, often we'll give it a shot, right? And what we'll do is we'll come back and say, well, here's what we're finding in the market based on what you're looking for. And obviously, if right off the bat we know that it's the unreal, that expectation is not going to be met, we're going to be upfront with them and just say, hey, look, what you're looking for just isn't out in the marketplace, and have you considered this?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of wild to think about, though, because there's a lot of organizational DNA involved in someone who's been there 15, 20 years, right? And the work that they started doing is not necessarily the work that they ended up doing.
Right.
And along the way, they remember all of the mistakes, all of the successes, all of the little pieces of things that worked very well.
Exactly.
And so kind of thinking, I'm going to go hire somebody to replace them, and they're going to be exactly like them, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I can understand why it would be so hard for an organization to figure out how to deal with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are the challenges that we're dealing with.
Have you seen changes, though, in the workforce itself, in the way individuals look or approach their next project?
Well, obviously, with COVID and people getting used to working from home, there's an expectation that a lot of people either are coming to the table with all I want to do is 2 days a week in the office or 100% remote. Those opportunities are becoming fewer and farther to identify the fully remote. But more and more clients are going back to the office, and the workers they will hold back off of an opportunity if they're asking them to come in for 5 days a week. We are seeing that. And obviously that's a huge change in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Actually in the last 5 years, right?
Absolutely. Because I mean, until COVID, even though technology existed, there was really never an expectation that most work, if not all work, could be done remotely.
Right.
And now we figured out, well, yeah, I can do a lot of those things without having to come into the office. But there are aspects of being in the office that are very important, and you miss out on those things if you don't have the person there.
Right.
But I agree with you. There's been a big shift in the expectation that if you want me for 5 days, I may hold
Right.
out and wait for somebody who wants me for 2, and I can still do the rest of the work the other time.
Absolutely.
Do you think, and I don't know if you have data on it, but do you think that people in the positions you're looking to fill are as productive when they're not at the office versus when they are fully remote?
We asked our clients that during the pandemic and then afterwards. And I mean, you've seen the statistics just in the news and that type of thing. Absolutely. I think people are very productive. They utilize the travel time much more effectively. I think what's really missing is just that collaboration piece. You're much less apt to just drop in on somebody on a Teams meeting and really just brainstorm something out. Whereas if you're walking by an office, hey, let me grab you for a second. Let's talk this through. I think that happens a whole lot more effectively in person. And so I think people do realize that there's nothing that beats, a handshake and looking somebody eye to eye and, talking through things.
And when you think about that with the, not the client, but the individuals that you are trying to match, are you also counseling those individuals as well? So that you try to mesh up the expectations for folks?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll find the perfect fit individual and they're like, I want 100% remote. And you're like, how's it been working out for you? Finding that opportunity and really just saying, there's a lot to be gained from, a hybrid type workforce and just talking them through it.
Well, the having people in person also brings with it a number of other challenges, including making sure people are actually fitting, meshing, belonging, getting along.
Right.
And there's been a lot of conversation recently on the diversity of the workforce and how organizations look at the people that they do try to bring together. You mentioned earlier that your organization was founded as a Native American business and that diversity is important. How do you navigate this world now where things are changing or maybe different when it comes to diversity?
Well, at the end of the day, it's about finding the right person with the right skills. And that's really what we focus in on. And if we have found the right individual, we're going to be selling them to the client as the best candidate for this position. And at the end of the day, that's what you got to go with. I
love that. And we talked about large clients like IBM, but are you also involved in smaller businesses as well?
So I'm actually on the board, or just actually retired from the board of the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. So that's a mouthful.
That is a real mouthful.
And what they are, they're one of the certifying agencies for the National Minority Supplier Development Council, to determine whether a organization is a minority-owned organization. And one of the or the three facets of them is certification, advocacy, and training of minority-owned businesses. And I have been involved with the CBMSDC since 1998, and so very involved with working with typically smaller organizations than ours and assisting them with just being better business people. And so we are meeting with them. We're providing training. We are doing introductions to corporations. And, a lot of these companies might not be large enough to support a large Fortune 500 company, but they might be a great asset to another company where they can partner. And so we try to put together partnerships with these companies to support each other, to present opportunities to companies.
Oh, that's pretty incredible. And so, how do you then think about as you're working with smaller organizations and thinking about really your larger clients? We've talked a little bit about the changes in the way employers kind of think about being in the office versus how
Right.
an employee might think about it. But there are also these other challenges out there. So in the world of engineering and digital marketing, there's now a lot of influence from AI. Have you seen AI make a difference in the way people are thinking about the fits or the employees are looking for?
Well, from the we're utilizing AI from a sourcing aspect at this point,
Okay.
and there's a lot of tools out there that we're testing right now. The coolest one is one where you can identify a number of applicants for an opportunity, and it will automatically call out and have a voice conversation with somebody just to do the initial screening. Hey,
Really?
we have this awesome opportunity at this client. It's paying this. It's high, 2 days in the office a week, and it literally has a conversation with them, talks about their skill sets, and if they're a good fit and they're interested, then we'll put them in touch with a real recruiter who's going to do what we typically would do.
That is crazy
So
town.
it is definitely changing from just from the sourcing aspect, not just talking about how people are utilizing it in their roles and their jobs.
Sure, but that is both exciting and a little bit creepy,
Right.
right? That you can use AI to kind of initiate the screening. And are you seeing any of your clients look to replace skill set with AI?
We've already started seeing some impact, unfortunately, in um, marketing, in the areas of content generation, in editing, and frankly, in some of the graphics design. Now, I think some of your effective individuals are determining how to utilize this technology to supplement them in being more, skilled at what they do, and it's going to just basically make them more efficient.
Wow. So to me, it's the AI and utilization of AI is fascinating because there's so many things that have an AI component, and we're unaware because it fits into our lifestyle. It makes
Right.
things a little easier. There's always the question of what can AI do versus what should AI do, and it's just interesting to hear that you're already starting to see some of those things that we relied very heavily on people to
People.
think about now being able to be done faster, maybe at a different level, maybe not the same quality level yet as individuals could do, but it feels like the technology is moving pretty fast.
Yeah, it's definitely making people more efficient in their roles. But at the end of the day, in what we're dealing with is people, and they want to talk to an individual. And so ultimately, we want to make sure that we're not losing touch of that because that's a big part of who we are.
So, where do you see things going then? So, we've talked about initially the clients were looking for folks that would come in and have this skill set, and they've moved to now we want this person to have the skill set, and we want them to be able to replace someone who had 15 or 20 years experience.
Right.
Like, where are we going next?
I think what employers are looking for is people who are looking to stay on top of their game, and that might be, how am I going to leverage AI in my role to be more effective, to make me 15-20% more efficient than the next individual. And those individuals that aren't embracing it and looking at how it's going to impact their roles are going to get left behind.
Huh. And so, when you think about that in terms of APC, how are you thinking about APC's future growth?
So, like I said, we are evaluating tools to make us more efficient and effective in finding the individuals,
Mm.
reaching out, doing the first initial reach out to individuals to identify people that might be interested in the roles. And I think it just goes down the line. There's a lot of times where we have to make sure that somebody is proficient in the programming languages or
I see.
in their roles itself. So having them go through the test through AI, all that type of stuff is really changing the way that we do business and the way we approach it.
Well, and we talked about it being a family business. So, Dad was the founder. You're in the business, but your brother also works with you.
Yes. So my brother is the chief operations officer, Scott Roberts. He is the data and operations side of the house, and I'm more of the front office side of the house, the sales, and being the president and CEO.
And then he's at work. You've actually got a family at home. Do you feel like any of your boys are going to be coming to work at APC?
I think between either my kids, his kids, and then we also have nieces and nephews. I'm sure there'll be some. Nobody has actually shown an interest, but I do have one son. Actually, a few of my sons have done weekend work, just blowing off the drive and working for APC indirectly, but not in house yet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Get them at the building.
That's
one
right.
day they're inside the building. Next thing you know, they're working in the building, right? But you spend a lot of time with the family over the weekends and trying to get your personal life separate from what you're doing at work.
Sure.
You said that you play spikeball, and I am very interested in this because I don't know what spikeball is, but
So,
it sounded fun.
Yeah, no, it's one of those games that's awesome on the beach. It's I play with all of our boys. I have 4 boys, and it's just one of those activities that's just a lot of fun.
Well, you got to tell me what it is now. You got to explain it to me.
So it basically has a net that sits down about a foot off the ground.
Okay.
And you take a ball and you are lobbying. Forgot the word, where you're hitting the ball on the net, and then it goes to the opponent. And so it's like it's about the size of a softball.
Okay.
But it's squishy.
Okay.
It has air in it, and so it's just.
So I'm going to look this up now because I don't do a lot of team things, but team sports things.
Right.
But like most of the stuff, I know what it is, and so I was looking at it and I was like, I've never heard of spikeball, and I was like, I'm not even going to look yet. I'm going to let Troy explain to me.
Well,
what this
I
thing
did a
is.
poor job explaining it, but it's a lot of fun, and boys love it. And,
That is awesome. And so, as you think about where you personally go from here, as now being kind of the head of APC, you're locked in. You have an idea for the organization. You've got a vision for that. Where do you see yourself going?
I really enjoy the people aspect of the business and want to see the organization continue to grow. And ultimately, it would be fantastic if somebody in the family wanted to take the reins and expand the business and continue with it. But right now, it's just a matter of taking each day and enjoying the work that we do.
Does anything keep you up at night?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I've got four kids, so
Fair.
making sure that they're on the right path. But ultimately, the business itself, I try to take it as a very important aspect of my life, but not let it overtake me to where I'm losing sleep. But
Yeah.
It's challenging running a business. When the good times are good, it's a lot of fun. But when things are challenging, it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if people are interested in learning more about APC, where do they go to find out?
Check us out on apcinc.com.
Perfect. And I will link that in the description of the episode. I'll also put your LinkedIn profile into the episode too, so people can find you and learn more. But I think this is really, really interesting to talk about, and it's been. I didn't realize until we started talking what staffing and consulting really was from a third party perspective. Right. And so now I've got a better grasp on like what it takes, who are clients versus the prospective employees. And really this whole concept of being a serial project person is now really interesting to me, that you would move from project to project.
That's awesome.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know it's not easy to sit and talk, but
Well,
I think this is really cool, and I look forward to learning more about APC as time goes on.
awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time. I hope you've learned something new and enjoyed listening to the discussion as much as I enjoyed having it. I'd love to hear from you about the show, because we're working really hard to bring you great content, and the feedback really helps us get better. If you like what you've heard or watched, for those of you who are streaming out on YouTube, then take a split second to give us a thumbs up or a like. It really helps other people like you find the show too. And no one likes to miss out on the good stuff, so go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't have to wonder when or if there's a new episode. And until next time, stay remarkable.